Okay, and that's the case. You might want to go back at some point to listen to the lecture, right, y'all? Okay. I shall say no names. Okay. Factoring. Here you go. Always check for what first? Correct. Okay. So the examples 1, 2, 3 are just making sure we know how to take out the GCF. 16m squared plus 12mn. What is the greatest common factor? 4 what? M. Okay. If you factor out 4m, guys, factoring means dividing. So if we divide each and every term by the greatest common factor, what's left over? What do we have left? 4m plus 3n, right? Now look at the parentheses, 4m plus 3n. Sometimes we can factor out more. Is it possible in this case? No, so we can just box it up. Hey, you and your team, go ahead and find the GCF, or aka factor out the GCF for 2 and 3. And then so Naomi and Kenzie, what did you guys find for your GCF on example 2? Okay. Naomi said she factored out both x and y on example 2. Do you guys agree? Okay, so what do you guys have left? Minus 7y to the 4. Confirm, deny? Good. Okay. Example 3. Christian and Jake, what did you guys find as your GCF on example 3? 5. Okay, what's left once you have factored out the greatest common factor? Okay. Minus 35. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, examples 4, 5, and 6. Who remembers how to factor by grouping? Do you remember unit at all? No, factor by grouping? Never heard of it? Okay, so here we go. Then this will be brand new for us. Factor by grouping is usually done when you have 4 terms. Again, factor by grouping is usually when you have 4 terms. How many terms do you have? 4. 4, okay? So, just like the name, we are going to group the first 2 terms and the last 2 terms. Not always, okay? Again, not always that we would group the first 2 and the last 2. But that's where we would start. So when I group these, what I do is I draw like sort of a division bar like this. What do you think the first 2 terms have in common? What's the greatest common factor for the first 2 terms? 8r squared. 8r squared. So we will take out 8. Whoops, if my pen works. R. No. Oh, there you go. Minecraft. Of course you would say Minecraft. Okay. It does this all the time in your class. It's ready for the weekend, huh? The computer. Okay, there you go. Okay, so 8r squared. Remember, when we factor out, it's the same thing as each term by 8r squared. So what's left once we have factored out 8r squared for the first two terms? R minus 8. Perfect. Okay. Can you guys see the next two terms? It's plus r minus 8. This is a plus sign, so we are going to factor out a plus something. Do those two things have anything in common? 1. Yeah, nothing but a 1. So we would still take out a 1 for the GCF here. Again, a 1 for the common factor is like a prime. Okay, that means these two things do not have anything in common but a 1. So if we divide each term by 1, would you agree that you still have the same thing back? This is how you would know that these 4 terms are factorable. Can you see this quantity right here? Those two quantities are exactly the same. That means you can factor it out again. Okay, that's the GCF of that. So we are going to factor that out. So r minus 8 is it's a group, it's a term. So that means we are going to divide each side by this. Well, if I divide each term by r minus 8, what's left? What's left over? 8r squared plus 1. And that's how we factor by grouping. We know the polynomial of 4 terms is factorable when we see that these two are exactly the same. We are going to try to do the same thing to example 5, but I'm going to wait until so that we get a copy. Again, normally we would group the first two and the last two. Sometimes you do have to shuffle a little bit. Do the shuffle, right? I know all these songs in my head every time. Okay. Let's group the first two and the last two. The first two terms, Mariana, what do you think they have in common? 2? Just 2? 2x squared. Perfect. Okay. That means I'm dividing by this by 2x squared, divided by this by 2x squared. So what's left? What do we have left? 6. I heard. What else? X plus 1. Good. Now, can you see that this is a negative? So we are going to take out a negative something. What do those two things have in common? 5. Negative 5. Okay. Now, be mindful, because we really took out a negative 5. That means we are dividing each term by negative 5. What's left? 6x plus 1. Can you see these two quantities are exactly the same? That means they are factorable. So we will take out that quantity, which is 6x plus 1. Then we are going to close it up with the remainder, which is 2x squared minus 5. Now that we have done 2, is this coming back? You've seen this now, right? Some of you still know? Now how do you guys factor 4 terms in Algebra 1? The box. We did the robot. The box thing. All right. Like I said, normally we would try to group the first two terms and last two terms. So we're going to repeat the same pattern. Not always. Remember that. Okay. 28x to the third and 16x squared. What do you think the GCF is? 4x squared. Okay. Let's take out 4x squared. What's left over? 7x. What else? Plus 4. Okay. Minus 12x minus 2. Do we factor a negative or do we factor a positive? A negative. Drop the negative sign right away. What do those have in common? 12. Okay. Remember, factoring is dividing. If you are dividing by negative 12 to each of those terms, what do we have? X. What else? Plus or minus? Remember, we're dividing by negative 12, right? So x what? Plus 1. These two Are they identical? No. So right now, what we group are not okay. So let's try to see if we can move things around a little bit. What if I reorganize this? Instead of 16x squared, what do you want to write over here? Move things around. 12x, okay, so minus 12x is next. And then 16x squared here, minus 12. You want to see if it works or not. After you reorganize it and factor again, it still doesn't work, then it's not factorable, okay? Okay, 28x squared minus 12, what do you think we have in common? 4. 20x cubed, ooh, good job, Paris. Okay, x cubed. So we will take out a 4 for what? X, okay, what's left? 28 divided by 4? 7x squared is left. Negative 12 divided by 4? Minus 3, good. Do we factor out positive or negative term next? Positive. What do we factor out? 4, good. What's left? 16x squared divided by 4? 4x squared. Negative 12 divided by 4? It's close, but is it identical? No. So guess what? Now we can say that is not factorable. Okay. So you have to try it out a couple of times. Don't just jump to the conclusion that it's not factorable the very first time. I'll leave that up so you can try it. The next set will be trinomials with, some of you are really good with trinomials. Diego. All right. Okay, so this one, I think many of you are super good at factoring trinomials. So here's what I would like for you. If you know how to factor trinomials already, just go ahead, do all 3 questions, and then just come back and check with me later. Okay, here are the guidelines. Help me read number 1, please. This one goes to Elena. Help me read this one.
Factor out GCF if you can.
Good. Number 2, Riley.
Identify ABC.
Perfect. 3, Brian. Yes, this is my way. Now, do you have to do this way? No, you do whatever way you remember from you want. 4, can you help me, Alan? Read. Perfect. Maggie, help me read number 5.
Write B on the bottom of that.
Good. Help me read number 6, please, Grace.
Find 2 numbers when you multiply equal to the top of the x, and when add equals the bottom number of the x.
Good. And last one, and it's not here. Last one, Hannah.
Write your trinomials to 4 terms and factor them.
Awesome. All right. Number 7. Can you see that they were so kind? They already factored the GCF for you. Yep. So we don't have to check for GCF because they said, okay, I'm just going to help you out a little bit. So your final answer should have that GCF in the front. Okay. So this is what we're looking for. So it says identify your A, B, and C. So let's see where the A, B, C's are located. A, B, and C. Where is A located always? In front of x squared. Where's B located always? With the x. And then C is the constant. So let's spell that out. A equals, in our case, what's A equals? 1. Remember, 5 is a GCF. It's already taken out. What's B always? Cautiously. B is negative 2. Okay, you have to take the negative with it. C is now a negative 35. And if you don't remember how to factor, this is how we do it. On top of the x, it says the product of what? Product of what? A and C. So here's A, here's C. The word product means you multiply, you add, you subtract, or you divide. Multiply. What's A times C? Negative 35. You put it on top of your x. What do we put at the bottom? B value. What's your B value? Negative 2 in this case. Now it says find 2 numbers When you multiply, gives you negative 35, and add gives you negative 2. Is it possible? Negative 5 times 7. So what you guys are doing is really finding all the products of 35, all the factors of 35. So the factors of 35 are what? 1 and 35. When I add those, is it ever going to give you negative 2? No. The next one will be what? 5 and 7, and those are them. Okay. So we need to have 5 and 7. But I need to multiply to give me negative 35, and add is negative 2. Negative 7. Okay. So this is the part where we need to rewrite it as 4 terms. The 5, we don't need to worry about it because we're just going to drop it straight down to the answer. The x squared will stay as an x squared in the front. The negative 35 on the back will stay as a negative 35. What we are doing is we're taking out the negative 2x and rewriting it as a negative 7x plus a positive 5x. I'm going to hold it right there. Can you guys see when I combine the 2 green terms, it should not change my equation ever. Right? So that's why this is okay to do. We are manipulating numbers so we can factor. How many terms do you see here? 4. If you see 4 terms, how do we factor? By grouping, right? So here we go. The first group, Kyler, what do those 2 things have in common? One x, you're right. If we fact out x, Kyler, from x squared minus 7x, what's left? X squared divided by x, that's what it means when you factor out. Just an x, and then negative 7x divided by x will give you? Perfect. Okay, drop down your plus sign. 5x minus 35. Devin's not here. Trevor, what do we factor out?
Let's see. X plus 5 and x minus 7.
Oh, you're giving me the final answer?
Yeah, sorry. I didn't
5x and negative 35. Did you guys agree that we have a common factor of a 5? Good. And then we have left what? X minus 7. Are these 2 groups identical? That means we can factor that out. And when we factor that out, we have x minus 7 times quantity of what? X plus 5. Guess where those 2 things go? In your answer box. Okay. X minus 7 times x plus 5. Do we just get rid of the 5 altogether? The GCF at the very, very beginning? No, we carry it all the way through, okay? Any questions on, do you have to follow this method? No. If you have a way, a method that you love, continue with that method. 8, factor, ready? Always check for GCF. Do we have any on 8? Yes, what? A. So factor that out first. 6a to the 3rd divided by a, Megan, what do we have? Good job. 6a squared. 19a squared divided by a, Wyatt? 19a, beautiful. 10a divided by a, we would get Sophia n. Just a 10. Yeah. Okay. Would you guys agree that's the only GCF we have? Now we need to identify A, B, and C. What's A? What's B? And what's C for our question 8? A is what? 6. B is 19. C would be 10. All right. On top of a ginormous X, the product of A and C, which makes it what? 60. Would have been the bottom of our X. 10. Perfect. So is it possible? By the way, if you make an x and it's not possible, then it's not factorable. So is it possible? I'm sorry, I'm on page 19. The B term is 19. Is that what you mean, Brandon?
Yeah.
Thank you. Is it possible? All right, let's find out the fact of 60. 1 times 60, is that going to work? No. 2 times what? 40, is that going to work? No. 3 times 20, is that going to give me 19? What else? 4 times?
15.
Is that going to give me 19? Oh, yes. So 4 times 15. Okay. Remember, your GCF, in your final answer, GCF is going to be at the beginning, and then we're trying to find those. So I don't need to write the GCF again, but I will start with a 6a squared. I'm going to copy down my positive 10. We're going to take out the 19a and substitute 19a with what? With Q? Oh no, because we already factored out that, so that's going to be carried all the way through. We're just factoring out this right here, but good I know. So we are going to take out 19a and rewrite 19a as what? 4a and 15a. When I combine that, that will give me 19a. That means I'm not changing anything. I'm just manipulating so we can factor. Okay. How many terms now? 4. So factor by what? Grouping. Okay. 6a squared plus 4a. Olivia, what do we have in common for those two things? Good. That means what's left, Olivia? 3a plus 2. Good. We're going to factor some positive number. So, Chris, 15a plus 10. What do those two things have in common?
5.
Good. That means we would have 3a also plus 2. Are these two quantities identical? That means, are we going to have an answer? Yep. So it would be a times the quantity of 3a plus 2 times the quantity of what? 2a plus 5. Okay. In teams, you guys work out 9. How about 2 minutes? Oh, you can move them around. I can do 15 first and then 4. It was the same exact factor. Yep. Remember earlier when we wanted the questions that said it wasn't factorable, and then we moved things around a little bit? You can always move things around. A would be 2. A will always be in front of x squared.
Yeah, no negative, sorry, yeah. And then we bring down negative 1.
No, but where are we? Oh, on question 8?
Yeah.
Okay, what about it?
That equals the time.
Very bottom where the group text is 2a and 3a is 3a squared.
No, because we already took out the greatest common factor of the a in the top. And then we have to carry that all the way down, so that's already out.
Like, how would that way give us?
So negative 4.
Are you sure? Yeah, I want to try again.
Oh, wait. No, that's 213.
Morning.
Yeah, we got is the A2? Yeah. She did only give us 2. Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay, well, I can go on the top, you have to. It says on this the top of the A and C.
Oh, this is what you get. And then it is not. So you don't have to factor it. Has to be multiplied to this. And figure out the factor of 42. 1 and 42. That's not hard, right? No factors of negative 42 would add up to negative. Okay, right? 3 is 3 over 42.
Plus 3.
You get it now?
We're wrong. What do you mean? That's what I just said.
What are the factors?
I don't understand how to explain that last. So negative 14 is what last time?
I found all of these. Now how do I make the...
Okay, so now copy this straight down. Copy the back one straight down. No. You ready?
Wait, are you sure we don't bring down the x? And we bring an x
Negative 21 all the way back there.
We did earlier.
Now, this is, you normally would used to have negative 11x. You can't have negative 11x. What are you going to write instead? Minus 14x and, plus 3x. Now how many terms do you have? Good, you guys are making great progress.
No, look, we did it.
Okay, keep on going. Alrighty then. Ready? Oh, I'm just gonna find ABC. Okay, guys. A is, B is, C is. Miss Dahlia, give me A, B, and C, please. Perfect. Okay. Big old ginormous X. What goes on top of our X? Quest. What goes on top of the X? Negative 42. What goes on the bottom of our X? Santana.
Negative 11.
Okay. Is it possible to find two factors? Yes. What are the two factors?
Negative 14
Negative 14
and 3.
and 3. Is that okay? By the way, does it matter if I write the negative 14 on the left or right? No. Okay. Guys, we copy 2x squared and negative 21 straight down. We don't change those two things. So 2x squared straight down. Negative 21 straight down. What do we change? Yeah, negative 14x plus 3x. If I feel like writing positive 3x here and negative 14x here, is that going to change my two factors? No, it will not. And watch. Okay. What do the first two terms have in common? X. What's left? 2x plus 3. We're going to take out a negative something. What negative something? Negative 7. Okay. Negative 14x divided by negative 7 will give us 2x. Negative 21 divided by negative 7 will give us positive 3. Are these two quantities identical? Yep. So, guys, we write that however you want. You write 2x plus 3 times quantity of what? X minus 7. You can have x minus 7 first and times 2x plus 3. It's not important what goes first. Okay, as long as you have two factors.
I had x minus 7 like in those parentheses.
That's okay, because when you factor it out, doesn't it go right there?
How can you divide 3x by 2? Oh, it's regular x. Negative 11. Why would you put x on both of them?
Because you can't combine like terms if these are not both x's. It's just like an Well, 3x minus 14x is negative 11x.
You want from me.
Because you can't combine them if they're both x's.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, wait, I did it. Yay. I thought I was wrong. Turns out I was right.
No. Okay. Raise your hand, you got it. It's okay. That's why we're just kind of going slow and reviewing. Okay. Guys, when you guys make your x, the only thing we're changing is what? The term in the middle. Okay. And I can rearrange it however I want. I can put negative 14x here and 3 here. Would you do that? You guys are always the same answer. Okay. If it's factorable, it will always be the same. All right, last 3. Ready? Guess what? It's your trinomials. What do we always check? All right. What's the GCF for number 10? If we have any. Anything besides the 1? No. 4? Does 121 divided by 4? Evenly? No. So there isn't any GCF but a 1. So there isn't any. What's A? 4. B? Yep. A is 4. B is negative 44. C is 1. Oh man. You guys gonna your brain's really gonna work now. What's 4 times a negative 121? 484. What do we put in the bottom? All right, you work it out. Tell me. That's a 484. That's a really big number, right, Alan? Find the 2 factors, sir.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, get it
How did
happening.
you guess the answer? Yeah.
I got 22.
Did you find the 2 factors?
What is negative 22? Mine is negative 22.
Okay,
You got to try. You gotta make your brain work.
Times negative.
That's what I know. It's the bottom's the negative 44. Bottom yes.
It'll be negative 22 plus 8. Would you just square it? Yeah.
All right, Han. What are the 2 factors? Oh, guys, it exists. Negative, you mean? All right. Negative 22 and negative 22. Okay, so remember, we straight up drop the 4x squared down. We don't change it. We drop the 121 down. Yes or no? The minus 44, we will change. We will change that to what? Negative 22x and another negative 22x. All right. By grouping. 4x squared, take away 22x. GCF, please. 2x. Okay, what's left? 4x squared divided by 2x is? 2x. Negative 22x divided by 2x is? Negative 11. Do we factor out negative or positive next? Negative. Negative what? 11? Okay. Negative 22x divided by negative 11 is now? Positive or negative? Positive 2x. 121 divided by negative 11 is now? Negative 11. Are these 2 quantities equal? Yes. Does it work? Okay. Whoa, what? They're exactly the same. Technically, is that called like that? What? That's not an egg roll yet. Okay. Okay. So, as you know, your x value, your x table for x, would you be 484 is a really large number. That will come up with lots and lots of possibilities. So there has to be some sort of a pattern that will help us out sometimes, okay? So here's where the title of these 3 questions says, trinomial square, perfect square. If you have an a square plus 2ab plus b square, okay, it could easily be factored as an a plus b quantity square. And what do I mean by square? It's 4 a perfect square number. Yes. Yes, because 4 is 2 times 2. Is 9 a perfect square number? Yes. Because it's 3 times 3. So same thing with these. 4x squared. Okay, so let's talk about 4x squared. If I take a square root, what would I get? 4x squared. 2 what? 2x. Okay? Take a square root. Is that a perfect square? It's 11. Okay, so now look at the formula. It said a squared. Is that my a squared? And then b squared. Is that my b squared? In the middle, we're going to check, okay? In the middle is negative 44x equals question mark 2 times 2x times 11, or just 44x. Is that 44x? Same as the middle. If it is, all you got to do is drop these down. 11 goes here. 2x goes here. If this is a negative, then there's a negative in the middle. If it's a positive, there is a positive in the middle, and that's it. Okay, so take a square root. Square root, and it comes out to be perfectly. Square root, it comes out to be perfectly. And then you check, is this middle term 2 times this and that? And if it's yes, then all you got to do is take these 2 things right here and put it together. Okay. And that is an egg roll because I need to give you homework.